Hello, kiddies. This is the second part of Shakespeare's contemporary writers. And we were talking about the university weights and the features of the, writing style of these university weights and the Renaissance influence on these writers and everything. And this is the continuing part of the same literary part. And Christopher Marlowe is also one among the uh, university wits. He was born in 1564 in the same year of Shakespeare and died in 93. He was born in Canterbury as the son of a cobbler, went to Corpus Christi College, Cambridge, and that was the age of Catholic versus Protestant political intrigue. And Marlowe is believed to have been a spy. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಮಾರ್ಲೋವಿಯನ್ ಟ್ರಾಜಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಮಾರ್ಲೋವಿಯನ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಅಂತೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಬಂದ್ವಿ. ಶೇಕ್ಸ್ಪಿಯರ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಫೇಮಸ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾನೋ ಅಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಕ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಬರೆದು ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಫೇಮಸ್ ಆಗಿರುವಂಥ ರೈಟರ್ ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟೋಫರ್ ಮಾರ್ಲೋ, ಓನ್ಲಿ ವಿತ್ 4 to 5 ವರ್ಕ್ಸ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಹಿ ಡೈಡ್ ಅರ್ಲಿ. And some critics suggest, or some critics argue that Christopher Marlowe is the real writer of the plays assumed to be Shakespeare's works. ಶೇಕ್ಸ್ಪಿಯರ್ ಅನ್ನೋನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಎಲ್ಲ ವರ್ಕ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಬರ್ದಿರೋದು ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟೋಫರ್ ಮಾರ್ಲೋ ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಲೆಂಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೇಮ್ ಏಜ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸಿಮಿಲಾರಿಟೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದೇರ್ ಏಜ್. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅಷ್ಟು ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟೋಫರ್ ಮಾರ್ಲೋ ಬರೆದಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸೊ ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಥಲಿಕ್ಸು ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ಸು ಇವರಿಬ್ಬರ ನಡುವೆ ಪೊಲಿಟಿಕಲಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಕ್ಲಾಶಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಮಾರ್ಲೋ ಈಸ್ ಬಿಲೀವ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಬೀನ್ ಅ ಸ್ಪೈ. ಸೊ ಇದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಅವನನ್ನು ಗೂಢಚಾರಿಯಾಗಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಮಾತಾಡಲಾಗುತ್ತೆ. And violent and disreputable behavior he had. ಸೊಸೈಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅವನು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಗುರುತಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಏಥಿಯಿಸಮ್ ಪ್ರೊಬ್ಯಾಬ್ಲಿ ಎ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಲೈಕ್ ಅದರ್ ಏಥಿಯಿಸ್, ಪ್ರೊಬ್ಯಾಬ್ಲಿ ಎ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ರೇಲೇಸ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಆಫ್ ನೈಟ್. ಆಗಲೇ ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಅದೇ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಆಫ್ ನೈಟ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ದೋಸ್ ಹೂ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ಡ್ ಏಥಿಯಿಸಮ್ ಅಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ ರಿಲಿಜನ್, a circle of free thinkers. So he was also one of the member of this school of night ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲಾಗುತ್ತೆ. And suspected to be homosexual. We have seen that, right? ಥಾಮಸ್ ಲಾಡ್ಜ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟೋಫರ್ ಮಾರ್ಲೋ ಒಂದೇ ರೂಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಥಾಮಸ್ ಲಾಡ್ಜ್ ಅನ್ನ ಜೈಲಿಗೆ ಹಾಕ್ತಾರೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಬಿಹೇವಿಯರ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಡ್ರೆಸ್ಸಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್, ಪೀಪಲ್ ಬಿಲೀವ್ ದಟ್ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ಹೋಮೋಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹೆರೆಸಿ, ಅಂದರೆ ರಿಲಿಜನ್ನ ಅಪೋಸ್ ಆಗಿ ನಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂಥದ್ದು, ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ನ ವಿರುದ್ಧವಾಗಿ ನಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಬಿಲೀಫ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಡೈಡ್ ಇನ್ ಎ ಡ್ರಂಕನ್ ಬ್ರಾಲ್ ಅಟ್ ಡೆಡ್ಫೋರ್ಡ್ ಅ ಕಪಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಡೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಅನ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಅರೆಸ್ಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಮೇಡ್. ಅಂದರೆ ಅವನನ್ನು ಅರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಕೂಡ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, but he was died in an accident in drunken stage. Some believe that William Shakespeare was his pseudonym. ಅಂದರೆ ಅವನು ಸತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ಪೈ ಆಗಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಿಲಿಯಂ ಶೇಕ್ಸ್ಪಿಯರ್ ಈಸ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಅನದರ್ ನೇಮ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ ದಿ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ವಿ ಬಿಲೀವ್ಡ್ ರಿಟನ್ ಬೈ ಶೇಕ್ಸ್ಪಿಯರ್ ಆರ್ ದಿ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಬೈ ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟೋಫರ್ ಮಾರ್ಲೋ ಹಿಮ್ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ವಾದವೂ ಕೂಡ ಇದೆ. ಇದು ವಿಲಿಯಂ ಶೇಕ್ಸ್ಪಿಯರ್ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಹೆಸರು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಅವರ ಬಿಲೀಫ್. ಶೇಕ್ಸ್ಪಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರಿಡಿಸೆಸರ್ ಇನ್ ಡ್ರಾಮಾ, ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಡ್ರಾಮ್ಯಾಟಿಕ್ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ವರ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲಲ್ಲಿ ಇವನು ಬರೀತಾನೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟೋಫರ್ ಮಾರ್ಲೋ. ಪೋರ್ಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಸಪೋಸ್ಡ್ಲಿ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟೋಫರ್ ಮಾರ್ಲೋ, ನಾಟ್ ಅಥೆಂಟಿಕಲಿ. ಪೀಪಲ್ ಸೇ ದಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾರ್ಲೋ, ಸಪೋಸ್ಲಿ ಇವನಿರಬಹುದು ಅನ್ನೋ ರೀತಿನಲ್ಲಿ. ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಸಿ ಹಿಸ್ ಲಿಟರರಿ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್. ಎಸ್, ಆಲ್ ಟುಗೆದರ್ he has written ಟ್ರಾಜಿಡೀಸ್. ಟ್ರಾಜಿಡೀಸ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದು ಇವನು, ಕಾಮಿಡೀಸ್ ಯಾವುದು ಬರೆದಿಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಇನ್ 5 years ಓನ್ಲಿ. ಅದು 5 ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಟ್ರಾಜಿಡಿನೂ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ಫೇಮಸ್. ದಟ್ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ರಿಟನ್ ಇನ್ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ವರ್ಸ್. ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ವರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಅಂದರೆ ದೆರ್ ಈಸ್ ನೋ ಮೆಟ್ರಿಕಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್, ದೆರ್ ಈಸ್ ನೋ ಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ ರೂಲ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಫ್ರೀ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಫ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನ ಮಾರ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮೈಟಿ ಲೈನ್ ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಜಾನ್ಸನ್ ಇದನ್ನ ಕರೀತಾರೆ, ಇಸ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಅನ್ನ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಎನರ್ಜೆಟಿಕ್, ಸ್ಪ್ಲೆಂಡರ್ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಕ್ಷನ್, ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಅಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಪ್ಲೆಂಡೆಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ಸೆನ್ಶುವಸ್ ರಿಚ್ನೆಸ್, ಅದು ಓದ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೇನೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಆ ಕತೆ ಮುಂದೆನೇ ನಡೀತಿದೆಯೇನೋ ಅಥವಾ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲೇ ನಡೀತಿದೆಯೇನೋ ಫೀಲ್ ಆಗೋ ಅಷ್ಟು ಸೆನ್ಶುಯಸ್ ರಿಚ್ನೆಸ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವೆರೈಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಪೇಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ದ ಸೀನ್ಸ್, ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಲೈಕ್ ವಿಗರಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದು ಪೇಲ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದು ಸ್ಪೀಡಾಗಿ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಲೈಕ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಪೇಸಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅವನು ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರಿನಾನ್ಸನ್ಸ್ ಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಪವರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಬ್ಯೂಟಿ ಇಸ್ ದಿ ಮೇನ್ ಥೀಮ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ರಿಫ್ಲೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಇನ್ ಹಿಸ್ ವರ್ಕ್ಸ್. ಐ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ಯು ರೈಟ್, ಆಲ್ ದಿ ಫೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿನಾನ್ಸನ್ಸ್ elements reflected in the writers. Of course, power and beauty reflected in Christopher Marlowe's works also. Poetic vision is there, and unity, we can see unity of acts, we can see that also. And there is no sense of plot except in Edward the Second. ಅಂದರೆ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಇರಬೇಕು ಆ ಥರದ್ದು ಯಾವುದು ಇವನು ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. Simple characterization lacks, it lacks warm humanity. Critics have pointed out that style is the only greatness of Marlowe's plays, not a dramatic spirit. But we can see the dramatic spirit also in Shakespeare's works. That is why Shakespeare stands apart from all the writers of his age. His major works are like ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ನೋ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್. ಕ್ರೊನಾಲಜಿ ಇವಾಗಲೇ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಡೇಟಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಕನ್ಫರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ನೋ ಅಥೆಂಟಿಕ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ರಿಗಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಲೈಫ್. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೈ. ಟಂಬರ್ಲೈನ್ ದ ಗ್ರೇಟ್, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಅ ಟ್ರಾಜಿಡಿ ಇನ್ 2 parts, published anonymously in 1590. And story of Central Asian Emperor Timur. He was the lame. He was a physically not fit. So that is about Timur. So Tamburlaine the Great. Next, the Jew of Malta. Please guys, try to read a summary of this these plays. Very important plays these are. Just I am giving you the hint, so you have to follow that. The Jew of Malta is written or published. So play is performed on the stage, that is why it is taken like this, 1592. And Edward II performed in 1594. Dr. Faustus is the famous among these plays, tragedies. So it was enacted in 1604. The Tragedy of Dido, he wrote with Thomas Nash in 1594. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಕಾಮನ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ವಿಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಅವರ ಪ್ಲೇನಲ್ಲಿ ಇವರು, ಇವರ ಪ್ಲೇನಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಕೊಡುವಂಥದ್ದು. ದ ಮಸಾಕರ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ಯಾರಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಹಿಸ್ಟಾರಿಕಲ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್. ಹೀರೋ ಅಂಡ್ ಲಿಯಾಂಡರ್ ಈಸ್ ಅನ್ಫಿನಿಶ್ಡ್ ಪೋಯಮ್. ಹಿಸ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ಲೇ is Tamburlaine the Great, that was performed approximately in 1587. It was written in 2 parts. Central role played by Edward Allen. So he was the major actor at the time, and the role of Tamburlaine played by Edward Allen. This was marked the shift from the clumsy language, jigging veins. It was called jigging veins. So this is the shift from that language to splendid language and loose plots of early Tudor drama. So it follows this, like a tight and well-written dramatical style. So this shows, Tamburlaine shows the Renaissance humanist ideal of tremendous human potential. Means what is the capacity human being how much he goes to achieve, what is the extension of his strength that was shown through this Tamburlaine character, Timur. Typical features of Elizabethan tragedy is like a grand and beautiful imagery is there, hyperbolic and rhetorical language, powerful characters with overwhelming passion. We can see all these features in Christopher Marlowe's works also, and in Tamburlaine the Great also. What is the story of this Tamburlaine the Great? Tamburlaine is Scythian shepherd. Okay, ಒಬ್ಬ ಕುರಿ ಕಾಯುವಂತಹ shepherd, Scythian shepherd, who became a bandit in the beginning and helps Khosrow overthrow his brother. ಅವನು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಟಂಬರ್ಲೈನ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಖೋಸ್ರೋ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಬ್ಬ ಕಿಂಗ್ಗೆ ಅವನ ಬ್ರದರ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅಧಿಕಾರದಿಂದ ಇಳಿಸೋಕೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಬಂಡಿತ್. ದೆನ್ ಟಂಬರ್ಲೈನ್ ಔಸ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಖೋಸ್ರೋ ಆಸ್ ಕಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಪರ್ಷಿಯಾ. ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಅವನನ್ನೇ ಅಧಿಕಾರದಿಂದ ಕೆಳಗಿಳಿಸಿ ಟಂಬರ್ಲೈನ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ದ ಕಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಪರ್ಷಿಯಾ. Then he conquers and exhibits, Turkish Emperor Bajazet in a cage. ಸೊ ಅವನನ್ನ ಕೇಜ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಹಾಕ್ತಾನೆ ಬಾಜಾಜೆತ್ ಅನ್ನ. He and his wife Zabina kill themselves by beating their heads against the bars of the cage. Such cruelty is shown on the stage. That is the power of Christopher Marlowe's language that is shown explicitly. So this is Marlowe's style, Marlowean tragedy. Okay, he conquers and exhibits Turkish Emperor Bajazet and his wife Zabina. He caged them inside. Because of his torture, they killed themselves by beating their heads against the ಬಾರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕೇಜ್. ಆ ಕೇಜ್ ನ ಕಂಬಿಗಳಿಗೆ ತಲೆ ಚೆಚ್ಕೊಂಡು ಸತ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅವನು ಎಷ್ಟು ಕ್ರೂಯಲ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದ ಟಂಬರ್ಲೈನ್ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಒಬ್ಬ ಕುರಿ ಕಾಯೋನು ಬಂಡಿತ್ ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ, ಬಂಡಿತ್ ಆಗಿ ಕಿಂಗ್ ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಸೊ ಕಾನ್ಕರ್ ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬೇಕಾದಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರದೇಶಗಳನ್ನ ಆಕ್ಯುಪೈ ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ಹಿ ಸ್ಪೇರ್ಸ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಆಫ್ ಈಜಿಪ್ಷಿಯನ್ ಸೋಲ್ಡಾನ್ ಹೂಸ್ ಡಾಟರ್ ಜಿನೋಕ್ರೇಟ್ ಹಿ ಲವ್ಸ್. ಅವನನ್ನು ಹಾಗೆ ಸಾಯಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದ, ಬಟ್ ಹಿ ಫಾಲ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಲವ್ ವಿತ್ ಝೆನೋಕ್ರೆಟ್, ಹಿಸ್ ಡಾಟರ್. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೈ ಹಿ ಸ್ಪೇರ್ಸ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಲೈಫ್. In part second, so this is about first part, and in the second part, Tamburlaine's carriage is drawn to Babylon by kings. That much powerful king he became, by then. Xenocrate dies, so does Tamburlaine. ಸೊ ಅವಳು ಸತ್ತ ನಂತರ ಇವನು ಕೂಡ ಸತ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. Nobody killed him, he himself killed himself. Next is The Jew of Malta, written in 1589. This is a tragedy with comic elements. A little bit, a touch of comedy is there. Of course, all his works are tragedies, but there is a touch of comic elements in this Jew of Malta. This is about a Jew character, Jewish character. And it has a prologue that was spoken by Machiavel, a Senecan ghost. We can see ghost here also in Jew of Malta. That prologue spoken by that Machiavel. That is a Senecan ghost. Barabbas is the main character here, who is a Jew. Barabbas, called the first Machiavellian villain, means cruel character, influenced Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice. Merchant of Venice ಅಲ್ಲಿ Shylock ಬರ್ತಾನೆ, who is also a Jew. Themes of racial tension is shown through this Jew of Malta. Religious conflict is there. Christians and Jews, between these religions, conflict is there, and political intrigue is also shown in this play. There were no Jews in England at this time. They had been banished. Still, they have written about Jew character. Religious Heterodoxy was the ground reality of 16th century England. ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ಹೆಟೆರೋಡಾಕ್ಸಿ, ಹೆಟೆರೋ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಹಲವಾರು, ಅಂದರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಧಾರ್ಮಿಕ ಫೀಚರ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವಿಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ. ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಡೈವರ್ಷನ್ ಇನ್ ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ಬಿಲೀಫ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಸಸ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ಹೆಟೆರೋಡಾಕ್ಸಿ. ಸಿ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ Jew of Malta, Barabbas, from a theatre performance, the Jew of Malta. He killed his own daughter. That is why he is titled as the first Machiavellian character, villain. What is the story of this, the Jew of Malta? Barabbas, a successful Jewish merchant of Malta. So that is the place name, Malta. He hates Christians. And he wants to earn power, longs for power over them. He wants to achieve power over these Christians. He wants to control them so that he can take revenge. Turks demand tribute from Malta. At the same time, the governor decides to extract money from the Jews, because Jews are usually rich people and they are the traders. So the governor decides to extract that demanded tribute from the Jews. Barabbas' wealth taken by force. So that shows the religious hatredness towards Jews, from the part of Christians. And house becomes nunnery. His house becomes nunnery. With the help of the Turkish slave Ithamor, Barabbas embarks on an orgy of destruction. That means an individual goes to any extent to perform violent acts. Means that is excessive and uncontrolled destruction or destructive attitude. That is what orgy of destruction. ಸೊ ಟರ್ಕಿಶ್ನ ಸ್ಲೇವ್ ಬಂದು ಇತಾಮೋರ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಬಾರಾಬಸ್ಗೆ ಎನ್ಕರೇಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ಬಾರಾಬಸ್ ಕಿಲ್ಸ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಓನ್ ಡಾಟರ್ ಅಬಿಗೇಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಹರ್ ಕ್ರಿಶ್ಚಿಯನ್ ಲವರ್. ಓನ್ಲಿ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಶಿ ಫಾಲ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಲವ್ ವಿತ್ ಅ ಕ್ರಿಶ್ಚಿಯನ್, he killed his own daughter Abigail. So he poisons wells. ಅಂದರೆ ಆ ನನ್ನರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಂತಹ ವೆಲ್ಗೆ, ಇಡೀ ಬಾವಿಗೆನೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಪಾಯ್ಸನ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾನೆ ಟು ಡೆಸ್ಟ್ರಾಯ್ ದ ನನ್ನರಿ. ಅಂಡ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ಸ್ ಟು ಡೆಸ್ಟ್ರಾಯ್ ದ ಟರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಅಟ್ ಎ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ವೆಟ್ ಬೈ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಟ್ರ್ಯಾಪ್ ಡೋರ್. ಸೊ ಅವನೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ವೆಟಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ರನ್ನು ಇನ್ವೈಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಸೊ ಒಂದು ಟ್ರ್ಯಾಪ್ ಡೋರನ್ನು ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಕೌಲ್ಡ್ರೋ ಕುದಿಯೋ ಏನೋ ನೀರೋ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಏನೋ ಇಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಅವ್ರ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದಾಗೆ ಅದ್ರೊಳಗಡೆ ಬಿದ್ದೋಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಆ ರೀತಿ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಬಟ್ ಬಾರಾಬಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಬೈ ದಿ ಮಾಲ್ಟೀಸ್ ಪೀಪಲ್, ಫಾಲ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಎ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ರಾನ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಟ್ರ್ಯಾಪ್ ಡೋರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡೈಸ್. ಸೊ ಮಾಲ್ಟಾದ ಜನರಿಂದಲೇ ಅವನು ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಮೋಸ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಸೊ ಅವನು ಮಾಡಿದಂತಹ ಟ್ರ್ಯಾಪ್ಗೆ ಅವನೇ ಬಿದ್ದು ಸತ್ತು ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ Jew of Malta and a villainish character as a hero here. Next important play is Dr. Faustus. So this was written or performed in 1604. It has elements of morality play. Morality play nalli ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ, good and bad angels ಬರುತ್ತೆ, that symbolizes battle over the spirit. And 7 deadly sins are appear in this play: pride, covetousness, envy, wrath, gluttony, sloth, lechery. ಏನೇನು ಮನುಷ್ಯನ ಕೆಟ್ಟ ಗುಣಗಳಿರ್ತಾವೋ ಅವೆಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕೂ 7 ಡೆಡ್ಲಿ ಸಿನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾತ್ರಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಸುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಪೊಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ಸಾಲ್ವೇಷನ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಶೋನ್ ಹಿಯರ್. And comic interludes also used in this play. There was a conflict between medieval centrality of God and Renaissance centrality of man that was at clash in this play. Renaissance centrality of man shows through Faustus, Dr. Faustus, and the a conflict between and the medieval centrality of God shows through the good angel and salvation, you know, theme. So other themes are like sin and redemption, power as a corrupting influence. Here, Dr. Faustus achieves power that corrupts him ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. So this is the Faustus character. Faust painting by Rembrandt in 1650 and 54. So the last hour he was observing in a room. So you will come to know after reading the story why he was looking at that clock. Okay. What is the story of this play? There is a vary of scientific study. Faustus turns to magic. So, Dr. Faustus studied everything. Whatever the knowledge available on the earth, he studied everything and he becomes bored of all this scientific study and he wants to pursue something different. So at that time, his assistant gives him an idea of black magic. So Faustus turns to magic. It makes a bargain. He makes a bargain with the devil through Mephistopheles to achieve power. To achieve power through this magic, he has to sacrifice something. So ಮೆಫಿಸ್ಟೋಫಿಲಿಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸೊ ದೆವ್ವಗಳ ರಾಜ ಮತ್ತು ಫಾಸ್ಟಸ್ ಇವರಿಬ್ಬರ ಮಧ್ಯವರ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ಬರೋದೆ ಮೆಫಿಸ್ಟೋಫಿಲಿಸ್. ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಡೆವಿಲ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಅವನ್ ಬಂದು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಫಾಸ್ಟಸ್ಗೆ ಅವನ ಆತ್ಮವನ್ನ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇವ್ರಿಗೆ ಬರ್ದ್ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಅಗ್ರಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ 24 years of life with Mephistopheles at his command, at the end of which the devil may take his soul. That is the agreement. 24 ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಕಾಲ ಮೆಫಿಸ್ಟೋಫಿಲಿಸ್ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಏನೇನೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೋ ಆ ರೀತಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಫಾಸ್ಟಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಆಲ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪವರ್, ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಪವರ್ ಇನ್ ದ 24 years. And after 24 years, immediate 12 strikes, that minute he has to sacrifice his soul. He has to gives up his soul to the devil. So that is the agreement. And his guardian angel tries to prevent him. When he was cut his hand and tried to write that agreement, try to sign that agreement with his blood, the guardian angel comes and it tries to close that wound again and again, but he resists that. ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನು ಮೀರಿ ಅವನೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಆ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಗೆ ಸೈನ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಬಟ್ ಲೂಸಿಫರ್ ಹಿಮ್ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಶೋಸ್ ಹಿಮ್ ದಿ ಪ್ಲೆಷರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ 7 deadly sins. ಸೊ ದೆವ್ವಗಳ ರಾಜ ಲೂಸಿಫರೇ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, 7 deadly sins ಅವುಗಳು ಇವನಿಗೆ ಎಂಟರ್ಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡೋ ರೀತಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವನನ್ನ ಮೋಹಕಗೊಳಿಸ್ತಾನೆ. And he attracted towards the magic and he sacrificed his soul. An old man pleads with him that there is still hope for redemption. But ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮೋಕ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಕೂಡ ದಾರಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಒಬ್ಬ ಓಲ್ಡ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಂದು ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. he represents Christ, but Faustus has already made his choice to go with the sins ಅಥವಾ ಮ್ಯಾಜಿಕ್ ಆರ್ ಡೆವಿಲ್, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನರಕಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಕ್ಕೆ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಅವನು ರೆಡಿ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾನೆ. Faustus encounters the Pope and the cardinals, then summons Helen of Troy is also appeared here. Means by using all his powers, he traveled throughout the world and he had done all the mischievous things. At the climax, Faustus spends the last hour of his mortal life in terror that he is going to die. He doesn't want to die, but he is waiting to strike 12. That second itself, his soul will be damned to the hell, and he has to live forever in the hell by having that experiencing that torture lifelong. So that feel terrorizes him. So we can see that in the last act of this play, Dr. Faustus, but he cannot be saved because he was already damned. So the Dr. Faustus is, it has all the autobiographical elements. Means the story of Dr. Faustus resonates with Christopher Marlowe. That is why critics comment it as a autobiographical work. There we can see humble beginnings, means the Dr. Faustus with his education and his intellectual character. And then he rebelled against the strict rules of class and made money and fame, then desired for knowledge and accused of atheism. So all these features are reflected in the Dr. Faustus, as well as we can see in the character of Christopher Marlowe, the playwright. And what is this Marlowean hero? In the last class, we have seen so many writers have inculcated this kind of hero, Marlowean hero. What is that? Mostly played in his time by Edward Allen. Actor ಯೂಶುವಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾದ ಮಾರ್ಲೋವಿಯನ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ನ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು ಎಡ್ವರ್ಡ್ ಆಲಿನ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಆಂಟಿ ಹೀರೋ. Take for example Barabbas, take for example Timur, and Dr. Faustus an intellectual, but he was like an anti-hero. Alva? Andre like a villain, but he is the hero of the story. Like that. Humble beginning is there and rise to great wealth and power. See Timur, he was a shepherd, then he becomes the bandit, then he becomes an emperor. So lust for power followed by tragedy. Pride goes before a fall. So Dr. Faustus, we can see that. And ambivalence is there. Ambivalence andre yav ರೀತಿಯ ವಾತಾವರಣ? Violence is there, masculinity is there, ruthless acts were there, yet winning sympathies. Sorry, that is not ambience, this is ambivalence. I'm really sorry. Guys, this is 12 in the night and I am not able to read this. I'm really sorry. This is ambivalence, confusion. Inner conflicts we can see. When good angel comes and tries to convince Dr. Faustus, he was about to convinced by the good angel, but Lucifer comes and he entertained him with all the 7 deadly sins and again he gives up. So that conflict, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ದೇವ್ರ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ಲಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ದೇವ್ರ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ಲಾ ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾನ್ಫ್ಲಿಕ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಫಾಸ್ಟಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಬಹುದು. ಸೊ ಇನ್ನರ್ ಕಾನ್ಫ್ಲಿಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ದೇರ್ ಇನ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಹೀರೋಸ್. And renaissance spirit of power, beauty, knowledge, like that. So that was the trait of renaissance and that is reflected in this character. And hubris, inordinate pride, andre nobody can diminish their pride. Such kind of inordinate pride is called hubris. Pride of intellectual, most dangerous temptation of the age. ನೋಡಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಫಾಸ್ಟಸ್ನೇ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗಿಂತ ಮೀರಿದ್ದು ನನ್ನ ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜು, ನಾನೇ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗಿಂತ ದೊಡ್ಡವನು ಅನ್ನೋ ರೀತಿ ಅವನು ನಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಅವನ ಅವನತಿಯನ್ನ ಅವನ ಕೈಯಿಂದಲೇನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹ್ಯೂಬ್ರಿಸ್. ಮೋನೋಮೇನಿಯಾ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್, ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಮೈಂಡೆಡ್ ಪರ್ಸ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಅ ಗೋಲ್. ಟೈಮೂರ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅಂಡ್ ಜೀವ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಲ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಾಬಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಮೊನೋಮೇನಿಯಾ ಈಸ್ ರಿಫ್ಲೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಇನ್ ಮಾರ್ಲೋವಿಯನ್ ಹೀರೋ. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಹೊಂದಿರುವಂತಹ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಗೆ ಮಾರ್ಲೋವಿಯನ್ ಹೀರೋ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ಇನ್ ಮೆನಿ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಸಚ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ರೈಟರ್ ಈಸ್ ಬೆನ್ ಜಾನ್ಸನ್. ಬೆನ್ ಜಾನ್ಸನ್ lived between 1572 to 1637. He is not university wit, but Shakespeare's contemporary writer. He worked as a bricklayer like his stepfather. He served as a soldier in Flanders, Low Countries. He became an actor and also playwright with the Lord Admiral's Company in 1597. He was imprisoned for writing the satirical play, The Isle of Dogs. Remember, we already read this. Isle of Dogs ಅನ್ನ ಬರೆಯೋದ್ರ ಮೂಲಕ ಅವನನ್ನ ಜೈಲ್ಗೆ ಹಾಕಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಮೇ ಬಿ ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಸಟಾರಿಕಲ್ ಟಚ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಲಿಜನ್. ಅಂಡ್ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಕಿಲ್ಡ್ ಫೆಲೋ ಆಕ್ಟರ್ ಇನ್ ಎ ಡ್ಯುಯಲ್. ಗುದ್ದಾಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಯಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ಎಸ್ಕೇಪ್ಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಷನ್ ವಿತ್ ಹಿಸ್ ವಿಟ್. ಅವನ ಬುದ್ಧಿವಂತಿಕೆ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅವನು ಅದರಿಂದ ಎಸ್ಕೇಪ್ ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ. He wrote masks for private performances in King James's court. King James the First, comes to throne in 1603 after Elizabeth, right? Queen Elizabeth. So this Ben Jonson also lived in this period. He died in 1637. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ he also wrote masks, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಬರೆಯುವಂತ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ನಾಟಕಗಳಿಗೆ ಮಾಸ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. He wrote all such writings also. He quarreled bitterly with Inigo Jones, his stage designer. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಿರಿಕ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಇವನು. Quarreled with Marston and Dekker in Wars of the Theatre. Every Man in His Humor performed in 1598 made him a celebrity. So that is his best play. And he was something of a literary dictator at the Mermaid Tavern because of his intellectual that shone through his writing. He was buried in an upright position in Westminster Abbey with the epitaph, "Oh rare Ben Jonson." Upright means like ಈ ರೀತಿ. ಯೂಶಲಿ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಅವನನ್ನ ಬರಿ ಮಾಡಲಾಗತ್ತೆ. He introduced the theory of comedy of humors. So that is a technique of characterization. Comedy of humors means individual as marked by one characteristic, distortion or eccentricity based on one of the four humors like blood, phlegm, choler or yellow bile, melancholy or black bile. So these are called with names like sanguine, social and sociable and pleasure seeking. Phlegmatic means relaxed and quiet. Choleric means ambitious and leader like. Melancholic means introverted and thoughtful. ಸೊ ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಹದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತ ಈ 4 ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ಯಾವುದು ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಡಾಮಿನೇಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೋ ಆ ಗುಣ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದೇ ಕಾಮಿಡಿ ಆಫ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಸ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವಿನ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಸೋಷಿಯಬಲ್, ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿರೋದು, ಪ್ಲೆಜರ್ ಸೀಕಿಂಗ್. ಫ್ಲೆಮ್ಯಾಟಿಕ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ one who has phlegm in domination level, so that is his characterization is modified with relaxed and quiet style. Choleric means ambitious and leader like. Melancholic means ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ದುಃಖದಿಂದ ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದು. So all the 4 phases are given here. See, angry face, sad mode, joy, leader like. Okay. Robert Burton in his Anatomy of Melancholy and other cult of melancholy writers were writing books on humor physiology during this period. So this is a humor physiology. Now let's see Jonson's works. His works are scholarly and imaginative, just like John Donne. We have read him already. So the metaphysical poet revolted against the artistic conventions of the age. Means ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಬರೆಯುವಂತಹ ಆರ್ಡಿನರಿ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ವಿರುದ್ಧವಾಗಿ they invented new style of writing. That is why they became famous writers. Because of their scholarly and imaginative power, they dominated the era. Employed the humanist ideal of close imitation of the classics. Not only an antiquarian, also remarkably responsive to the social, political and artistic issues of the age. So there is a touch of criticism there in their works. Intimate and first-hand awareness of lower class life in London streets, because he brought up in that same situation because of His work, his profession. He was a bricklayer, and his family was also lived in that position. He knows that situation means a lower class lifestyle. Timber or discoveries, scholarly work. Commonplace book, a collection of conventional wisdom that forms the foundation of Johnson's poetry and plays. This is also a book. Timber or Discoveries. This is a scholarly work, not a play. And his first very famous drama is Every Man in His Humor. This was performed by the Lord Chamberlain's men in 1598, but in printed form it was published in 1601. This is a comedy of intrigue indebted to Roman comedy, means he imitated classical writers. Roman ಕಾಮಿಡಿಯನ್ನ ಇಮಿಟೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬರೆದಿರುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಕಾಮಿಡಿ. ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಅ ಪ್ರೊಲಾಗ್. ಏನೋ ಪ್ರೊಲಾಗ್ ಅಂತ ಅಂದರೆ ಮುನ್ನುಡಿ. In that prologue, he attacks themes and conventions of contemporary drama. He explains his theory of humors, that physiognomy, in this prologue to this play. Shakespeare acted in this play. Shakespeare also acted in Every Man in His Humor as an actor. The character Bobadil is one of the Johnson's greatest creations. A boastful, cowardly soldier. Ironic tone is there, colloquial style is visible. And this draws from a variety of Roman writers. The features of his writings are drawn from varieties of Roman classical writers, playwrights, comedian, and as well as tragic writers. What is the plot or the story of this play? The merchant, Kitely's brother, well-bred, brings home his boisterous friends. Merchant Kitely's brother, well-bred, there is Kitely and well-bred. They are brothers. This well-bred brings his friends to his home. Kitely suspects that the men have designs upon his young and pretty wife, Dame Kitely. Means they have an eye on his beautiful wife. It means he was suspicious, that's all. They were not intended to do that. Edward Novell, another character who suffers from his father's excessive concern for his moral welfare, whose Kitely's sister Bridget. He falls in love with Kitely's sister Bridget. Who? This Edward Novell. Then, it is believed Shakespeare acted as old Novell in this drama. We knew this, right? Shakespeare acted in this play, and the role was given him is old Novell. Captain Bobadil is the famous character in this play. A cowardly, boastful soldier is also present. Novell's servant, Brainworm. See how he has given names to these characters. The characteristics of those characters is given as names. Brainworm, who is also his father's spy. Edward Novell's father's spy is Brainworm. He comes with Novell to their house. Complicates affairs with his intrigue. The issues are solved by Justice Clement at last. With all these confusions, everybody was in tension. So at the end, Justice Clement cleared every confusion, and Novell wins Bridget's hand at the end. So this is the love story, right? Edward Novell fell in love with Kitely's sister Bridget. So finally they got together. His other comedies are like Every Man Out of His Humor. The first play is Every Man in His Humor, and this one is Every Man Out of His Humor, performed or published in 1599. Cynthia's Revels, 1600. The Poet Astor, 1601. all full of vivacity and fun, visible in these plays. And other group of comedies are like his best works with satirical in tone, realistic in dialogue, which are those: Olpone or the Fox, Epicene or the Silent Woman, The Alchemist, Bartholomew Fair. So these four plays are his best plays among all his comedies and tragedies. Later, he wrote less powerful comedies like The Devil is an Ass, The Staple of News, The New Inn, or The Light Heart. When The New Inn failed on stage, Johnson wrote an ode to himself. And he also wrote tragedies, but not that successful like his comedies. They are as such as Sejanus His Fall. This is a Roman tragedy performed by the Kingsmen at the Globe, with Shakespeare and Richard Burbage in the cast. Catiline His Conspiracy. Please read his best plays, Volpone, Epicene, Bartholomew Fair, The Alchemist. Read at least the summaries of these plays so that you can understand the full story because they are important. Based on classical models, he wrote these plays, too labored and mechanical to be considered great tragedies. His other works are like Masks, Masks of Blackness, Mask of Beauty. Anti-masks also he wrote, The Mask of the Queens. Lyrics, when it comes to poetry part, he wrote, Drink to me only with thine eyes. It is his best known lyrics. He also wrote epigrams. The works of Ben Jonson appeared in folio format in 1616. Then comes the prose writer of the era, scientific wisdom of that age is Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon was born in 1561, died in 1626. He was a philosopher as well as essayist and also a scientist. He was the son of Nicholas Bacon, Lord Keeper of the Seal to Elizabeth I. He was educated at Trinity College, Cambridge. Don't think he is one of the university wits. Okay, they are different and he is different. He entered Gray's Inn, practiced law. So that is a college. He was an ambitious man. He enjoyed the patronage of Earl of Essex, became MP also in 1584, means in Parliament. He investigated the case against his own patron, leading to Essex's execution, means Earl of Essex. He was executed and he became the reason because he was studying his case in 1601. Let us see his political career. His career bloomed during the reign of James I, became Attorney General, Lord Keeper of the Seal, and Lord Chancellor also. Not popular among his peers, maybe because of his intellectuality or something like that. His rival, Edward Coke, successfully instigated a charge of corruption against him. Francis Bacon was dismissed from office, debarred from Parliament, briefly imprisoned in the Tower. So his life was like going like this and suddenly it falls down. He became defamed, retired into private life, devoted subsequent life to writing. He died of pneumonia contracted while studying the use of snow in the preservation of meat. Means it was the beginning of the fridge or refrigerator, I think. Francis Bacon as a scientist. He advocated empiricism. Empiricism means practicality. Sensory experience is the best source of knowledge. He promoted like this and supported scientific revolution of the late Renaissance. Religion, superstition and fear replaced by reason and knowledge, which was the main trait of Renaissance period. He was established inductive method of scientific inquiry. Earlier Baconian method later developed into scientific method. So since he introduced this method, it was called by his called after his name only. After it was called scientific method. He introduced four idols of the mind. It was novum organum. He talked about four idols. Mistakes are fallacies. ಸೊ ಇವು ಮನುಷ್ಯನಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತಹ ನಾಲ್ಕು ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಫ್ಯಾಲಸೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ಕೈಂಡ್. ಐಡಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕೇವ್ ದಟ್ ಶೋಸ್ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಕಮಿಂಗ್ಸ್, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವ ಕುಂದುಕೊರತೆಗಳು, ಲೈಕ್ ಕೋಪ, ದ್ವೇಷ, ಒಂದಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಕಮಿಂಗ್ಸ್. Idol of the tribe, that the mistakes we make for being part of humanity. Then idol of the marketplace, mistakes made in political or commercial association or communication with others. Idol of the theater is also there, that is mistakes given by learning and philosophy, means that is from outside influence. So these are the novum organum. When it comes to his literary contribution, he is famous for his essays. So he comes under prose part. He wrote 10 essays and published in 1597. Then in 1612, he published in 38 essays. And in 1625, he wrote and published 58 essays. All these essays, shows the reflections and observations in the form of advice for living a successful life. He talks about all the spheres of life, and wide range of topics are taken by him, like government, architecture, human behavior, all the spheres of human life. Essays show acute intelligence and wit. Incorporates numerous quotations from earlier writers. So that shows his intellectual, wisdom. His major essays are like of truth, of death, of unity in religion, of revenge, adversity, of parents and children, simulation and dissimulation, of marriage and single life, of envy, of love, of friendship, of travel, of youth and age, and so many essays. So among them, these are the important essays. What are the features of his essays? He adopted the term essay from Montaigne. He was a classical writer who wrote essays of friendship, love, death, and morality. While Montaigne wrote the informal essay, Bacon wrote the formal essays. Practical, everyday philosophy. So that shows everyday philosophy and human life and all the perspectives of life. Detached, so there is no subjective connectivity. He is detached from that. Epigrammatic style that present finished ideas rather than develop and explore them. Later essays more expanded, like in ಮೂರು ಸಲ ಅವನು ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ, ಪಬ್ಲಿಷ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ, so that shows. And employs strategy of balance and opposition. Okay, balance and opposition. Impersonal, objective, studies the world rather than the self. Means in general, if he is talking about love, that is not about his love, but the love in the world. If he is talking about education, that is not about his education of the society. Like that, that is impersonal and objective. First writer to attend to the readers, wrote to inform young men of his class rather than for self-expression. That is how he shows impersonal and objective ideas through his essays. His other works are like the advancement of learning. This is, Darwin quotes from the advancement of learning in origin of species because it was famous. De Sapientia and Vettorum, this written in Latin, then translated as The Wisdom of the Ancients in 1619. Then Novum Organum, this is Latin. We have seen that it talks about four minds of humankind. The history of the reign of King Henry the Seventh, also written by Francis Bacon, and Apopathegms and New and Old. Then works on law, because he was a lawyer, right? Sylvia Silvarum, or a natural history, and posthumously published this work in 1627. He also contributed to fiction writing, like novel. So that is the New Atlantis. So this is an unfinished utopian fiction written in about 1624, published in Latin as Nova Atlantis in 1627, in English 1629. This narrates the accounts of the discovery by English sailors of an island called Bensalem in the Pacific Ocean, similar to Plato's Lost Atlantis. So he has taken the same name. He introduces an idea designed for a college of the sciences to establish in that New Atlantis. This is the picture of New Atlantis, illustration on the cover of an early edition. Means it is the image of New Atlantis according to him. Whatever he described in that book is given in the form of picture. Means utopia. Everything is perfect and he wants to establish a perfect college there, education institution. Everything is perfect. So this is the image. So this is all about Francis Bacon and about the contemporary writers of Shakespeare. John Donne is also one of the writers comes in this age, but he belongs to Jacobean period. That is why I am not mentioning here. Anyhow, you have learned that separately as metaphysical poet. No need to mention once again. I hope you understood. Thank you.